Welcome to the FreeBirth podcast, a supportive space for people who are learning, exploring, and celebrating their autonomous choices in childbirth. Together, we'll unpack truths, share personal stories, and claim our ability to birth freely and intuitively. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
Are you craving a community of like-minded women? Do you feel like an outsider in your family or your community? Well, I may have the place for you. We have a FreeBirth Society private online community that's full of radical and wild women just like you. If you resonate with the topics that we explore on this podcast and want to belong in a circle of women who support each other in the self-exploration of free birth and wild mothering, come join us. You can apply online at our website, freebirthsociety.com. It's where myself and my team are hanging out these days, and we would love to get to know you. This week, I sit down with Mitzi, who first shares her heartbreaking story of violence in the system. After her unnecessary C-section, Mitzi left England and returned home to Canada. In her second pregnancy, she found support in the wonderful traditional midwife, Gloria Lemay, who supported her in Mitzi's powerful VBAC. Then, Mitzi is shocked to discover that she is pregnant with her third child and decides to birth on the tiny island where she herself was free-birthed. And so she did.
So I was born at home, and you don't know that that's like a unique thing when you're a kid. And so that was just kind of always the norm for me. My sister was born at home. I was born at home, and I was born on a small remote island in BC. And so not only was, being born at home a thing, but it was also, I was the only baby born on this island within the last something like 75 years.
Whoa.
And yeah, so it's not like a common thing to do. There's no emergency services there at that time. There's no hospital, certainly not. And so it was I didn't recognize at the time what a, considerably brave thing it was that my mother and father were doing then.
Was there a midwife in attendance?
So no, but Gloria Lemay had been on island just visiting with my mom and as friends.
Aww.
Up until the day she went into labor.
Oh my God. And you were the firstborn?
No, I'm the secondborn.
Okay, so your sister had a home birth elsewhere.
No, yeah, so my mom had my sister in Vancouver.
Okay.
In their house there, and then we were on holiday on this island.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and Gloria had just been visiting, and
Wow.
it was the day she had to go, and it was that night my mom
So
went into labor.
Was Gloria your mom's midwife or attendant, and it just didn't work out that way, or was your mom having planning to have a free birth as well?
She was always planning to have a free birth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think you're the first person on the show whose mom did it too.
Yay.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is actually Gloria and my mother's relationship was sort of not opposite, but reciprocal in that my mom was teaching Gloria, my mom's a nurse, and she was teaching Gloria a lot of maternity stuff. That at the time Glo was just very fresh and new to learning. This is 1979, right?
Right. Wow.
So yeah, so they were sort of working together, and then so Glo went home, and my mom and dad just had me there on island. So I had this, being born at home and home birth was all this very natural thing for me, and then also I had this sort of, a claim to fame, which was that everyone on this small island knew me as the baby that was born there,
Totally.
and till this day, I have people come up to me and say, oh, you're the one that was born here. I'm like, yeah.
Because you live there now?
We don't live there full time now, but we
Okay.
did
Okay.
up until my son was born and then 3 months later, about we moved to the mainland,
Okay.
close to the island,
So
but
you're still very connected to this place.
still very connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have the house that he was born in
Oh.
because we like to keep it. That's the free birth. And so yeah, but then when I became pregnant myself, I found myself in a very different situation. I was living in London, England, and um and I didn't have the same kind of natural support around me. In my mind, home birth was a very just obvious thing to do, but not in my husband's at all, and not in the support network that I had around me. And in England, I don't know if you know this or not, but everyone you see, like, so your maternity care is all midwives, but they're not, I don't think, how you and I would define the word
100% not.
midwife, and
They're
we've been,
midwives. They're midwives of the medical paradigm.
that's right,
Yeah.
midwives. Yes, absolutely. And I remember going to, we did the whole thing. We signed up to like the prenatal courses, and every single week it was like, I remember them being like, here's what you need to be worried about today.
Totally.
Right? Like,
But also
here's the
these are midwives within the hospital, right? Like you
yes, yeah.
would leave your home to be attended by
Mhm,
these women. Yeah. Okay.
mhm. And also, we were living in a flat, and it was like a small flat in London above other people. And I just didn't feel like, all of those. And it was my first time, and I was scared. And I didn't feel like all of those things combined put me in a position where I felt like I could home birth. But so this particular hospital in London had these places, I'm sure you've heard of, a birthing center.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, this seems like this will be a nice halfway.
It's a compromise.
It's a compromise for everybody. I can still, there's a pool, there's a swing, this will work. And of course, these midwives set me up to say, well, you can only go into the birthing center
Right.
if you are completely complication free, right? So they're like, oh, your whole pregnancy has to be completely complication free, then we'll allow you into the birth center.
And we're going to look for complications the entire time. So if we find anything, outside the
Exactly.
range of what we've considered normal, which is so fucking small.
Yeah, then you're out. Yeah.
Mhm.
And even more so on the day when I finally went, like when I was in labor. So I'm in my flat, I'm birthing, it's all happening, it's dark, it's happy, my contractions are coming full on. I get in a car to drive to the hospital, get there, nothing.
Oh,
It's
classic.
over, right? And so it's not and they're looking at me like, well, you're not far enough, say we can't let you in. And they did exactly that. They actually they have this room that's before, like, it's on the other side of the door to
Triage.
the birthing center, triage, where they're like, let's really go over you and see what could possibly be wrong, so that we can't take you in here. Because
Wait. So your complication that ruled you out of this birthing suite was that you were in labor? Like what was the
no, they sent me home. They sent me
Okay.
home 3 times.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's so horrible.
Yeah.
Like, talk
So,
about disruption.
yeah, and I mean, exactly. If I knew what I knew now,
Of course.
I would never have left the house again. Because
Of
when I
course.
was at home with my husband, cozy, warm, dark in bed, everything was happening.
Yeah.
But then, you try to pull yourself together, get in a car, it's broad daylight, it just, every time my body went, whoa, this is scary. Why are we doing this?
We recently shared something on Instagram that people lost their freaking minds over, which was essentially that there's no such thing as a natural birth once you've left your home.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were, the point we were trying to make, that we did make, is exactly what you're talking about, is that if we're talking about the physiology, the hormonal blueprint, the intended mammalian sequence that is meant to unfold in a quote unquote natural labor, the moment you leave your nest, the moment you leave your den, it is inherently disrupted. It just is. And that doesn't mean that some women don't go on to still have a vaginal birth, but to deny the inherent disruption that then you have to try so hard to overcome, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
mean, even I know where this story goes, but even what you're sharing so far is exactly to the point that your body, which was working so hard for you and your mind, that was up against almost impossible odds of disruption.
Yes. And then thrown into this room where they're like, okay, yeah, let's really see what's wrong.
Oh,
And so because just that, it's like, okay, well, we're in this natural, beautiful process, but let's just stop everything to really, really meticulously look at what could be going
oh,
wrong. And so they did, and then my blood pressure was too high. I was dehydrated.
duh.
Like I'd been vomiting through the
Oh,
heavy contractions at home, and again, like I said, I know now that like that's how I birth. I vomit through the first few really hard contractions.
hey, it opens up. It
It
opens you up.
opens up,
Yeah.
everything's coming out. So then they sent me. So then, yeah, I wasn't allowed to be in the birthing center
And
anymore.
then to experience that level of disappointment because it's
Yes,
so rooted in fear of like, oh, appropriately so. Oh my
right,
God, now I can't go to this place that is, perceived to be
right. So
gentle and mother led. And now I'm going to have to go over to the obstetrical side.
right. So from that moment on, I'm being admitted to the hospital.
Ugh,
Something's wrong. So from that moment on, something's wrong with my
ugh,
birthing process.
right. You're doomed.
Yeah, I'm doomed from then on in. So I was they said, so they call it failure to progress. I'm sure you've heard this term before.
The
Um
most it's the most misogynistic, gross label to give a woman. It's like incompetent
yes,
cervix, all that
yes,
shit. Oh.
yeah. Yeah, failure to progress after about 4 days of laboring. Um I got to 9 centimeters,
Oh my
and
gosh.
but everybody was done, and
Yeah.
so they said, I remember the doctor saying, you're at 9, we could wait till 10, but by the time you get to 10, you're still gonna have to go through the pushing process, which will be
No
another
shit,
12
doc.
hours. Yeah, like
I understand that I'll
I
need
get
to push.
it. Another 12 hours, and
Uh-huh.
you're already exhausted. I don't think your system can do it, kind of thing.
Mm,
And by this point, of course, I'm hooked up to everything, right? Like I'm on
right.
epidural, I'm on the baby monitor, I'm on a drip. I can't move from bed. Like there's no way out. And I had one lovely midwife in the hospital there. She was young, and I wish I could remember her name right now, but she saw me burst into tears when they were like,
Mm.
looks like we should go to surgery. And also that's how they sold it. They said it'll be another 12 hours of pushing, and you're exhausted, or surgery is 25 minutes.
Oh my God, you could have your baby within the hour.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I could be holding it in a half an hour. Amazing. um
It's like, let's torture you. Let's
yeah,
literally fucking torture you and sabotage you and then give you this out that
yes.
you're going to have trauma around for, some period of time, possibly
Oh
the rest of your life.
yeah,
And then, but you could have your baby right now. I mean,
you can
it's
have it
so
now.
highly
And like,
manipulative.
and in this like immediate gratification culture of like, oh,
Totally.
you're offering it to me now.
Right.
um
And like you said, I mean, of course, and I hope this is no judgment of you whatsoever. It makes complete sense for the way that you were tortured. Of course you wanted a way out.
yeah,
Duh. What are you
yeah,
going to do? Say no?
yeah, yeah. And like my husband's been sleeping on the floor of the bathroom for the
Oh,
last couple nights. He's like, yeah, let's get it's
of
okay,
course.
whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
um
I'm so sorry.
yeah, and then so and then the one midwife said, she saw me burst into tears when they said the option of C-section, and so she went in and petitioned for me and said, can we give her another hour? Like, she's at 9. I'll get her up. Let me get her up on her hands and knees and see if we can get this, and like, give me an hour. And so they did. And so she was like, hey, you can do this. And we got so close, but it was still
Mm.
like an hour, and I was defeated. And so by then they were like, okay, no, that's it, time's up. Yeah. And
Time's
so
up. I have heard that said to women so many times, that exact time's up.
Mhm.
That is so painful.
You didn't progress in the allotted time. You failed at it. So let us do our thing.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So we, so anyway, so C-section, and yeah, like you said, I mean, it just was everything that it was just the opposite of what I hoped, how I hoped it would go. And then the postnatal care was probably the most torturous experience of all of it in that particular hospital. My it's called Ladywell in London, in southeast London, and I think it's probably typical of most hospitals there because it's such a big city. Your husband or your partner is not allowed to stay, so they get the same visiting hours as everybody else. So
Gross.
it's disgusting. And so you have your baby in this plastic thing beside you, and you've just been cut in half, and my daughter was like screaming the building down, and I couldn't pick her up. It's actual torture. So I'm like buzzing this thing, like, okay, like somebody, no one's coming. I don't know why they can't hear her cry. Someone's coming. So I'm like a nurse, midwife. And so someone would come and give her to me, and I would feed her and have her on the breast, and she would be skin to skin, and she'd be in bed, and we would both fall asleep. And then somebody would come and get really angry with us and say, that's so dangerous. You can't do that. Don't fall asleep with it. Put her back in the thing. My daughter wasn't having it. A few minutes later, whatever, maybe a couple hours, screaming her head up. That was our night. So by day, they doubled up on my pills. Like it just was like it was a total shit show. So day 2.5, I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I have my mother, who's a nurse, and my husband, who's the father of this child, at home. I will have way better care there than I'm receiving here. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I'll have 24-hour there.
Right.
And I'll be able to have this baby in bed with me.
And you can sleep with your baby. Yeah, exactly.
Like we'll be able to skin soothe each other. Right. And, and they were like, well, the doctor doesn't think you're ready. I was like, I don't care.
Right.
I'm out of here. I can barely stand up. I'm going home. So yeah, we did. And then so that was, and then after that, I just, like, I was alone. I was I mean, I wasn't alone. My husband was there, but I was still in London, and majority of my family's in BC, and friends and support. So it was a full trauma. I don't know that I was postpartum depressed. I was very definitely postpartum anxious.
Who wouldn't be depressed after dealing with your birth being completely taken from you? And all of a sudden having unexpected surgery and being tortured? Like, I mean, just this whole postpartum depression thing is like, it's traumatized.
Yes. Yeah. You've been
right?
It's PTSD.
Right.
Yeah.
You've gone through trauma. You then have to figure out how to mother this new little baby while being traumatized. Of course you were anxious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then you're alone mostly. It's just
mostly. Yeah. Dad's got to go to work. Like,
so painful.
Yeah. And I remember feeling how badly I had fucked this thing up. Like I'd messed up this birth so badly. I was now so terrified of messing everything else. Like, I can't, like, I screwed up the first step. I can't screw up all the rest of them.
Right.
I got to be able to breastfeed. I got to be, all of those other things, and all the pressure I felt from that. And definitely that trauma, it did not go away for a very long time. Like you said, I still want to cry when I think about it.
Of course. I want to cry just hearing it. This is the way that so many women begin their mothering, is from being tortured, abused, and cut, and then are left largely alone. I mean, can you think of a more fucked up but successful way to keep women down and to keep women out of their power?
Yes. No.
Oh.
No, I can't. So then I was like, that's it. I can't live here anymore. We got to go home. And thankfully my husband was supportive. And so we moved directly from London to this tiny island called Savory on the Sunshine Coast. And my dad lived there. My dad was thrilled that his grandbaby was coming to live on the same island. And I was just like, oh, sanctuary, like I'm going to be able to just go into nature and walk with this baby and, be quiet and calm. And certainly a lot of the anxiety didn't go away, but I was happier at home.
Yeah, it was a step.
It was a step. And then around, I guess, my daughter would have been around like a year, or a bit more, a year, like, 14, 15 months, when I got pregnant again. Or maybe less than that, actually, because they're only 23 months apart. So whatever that math is. Yeah. I can't think of it right. So I'm pregnant again. I'm on this small remote island with, no hospitals or anything. We're living there. And I had a C-section the first time. So, I go to a doctor who's, says she's supportive of home birth. No, not home. Says she's supportive of home birth and says she's supportive of VBACs, but not together. So she would support me in a VBAC in hospital, but not a VBAC at home.
Well, of course not. She's a doctor.
She's a doctor. That's fine. That makes sense. That's her thing. And so, she kind of like, we kind of had each other's number from the beginning. Like, I was like, oh, okay. So you won't. And she was like, yeah, but you can do it at a hospital and I'll definitely support you in a VBAC. And I was like, if I go to hospital with you, I'm definitely being cut open and you're not going to stay home with me. And this isn't going to work out. So I'm on Savory. I'm scared. I'm very pregnant and this baby's coming, whether I like it or not, like baby's coming. And I'm like, I can't go through that again. Like I can't step foot in a hospital again. And of course, the thing that they say that like, if you are to attempt a VBAC, it should be like, there should be a 2-year gap between them. I'm only 23 months apart. All of these things that are going to be, against me kind of thing.
Oh, how stressful.
Right. And so I, thank goodness a light bulb goes off in my head and I'm like, who is going to support me in this? Like, I need to find my support. And I'm like, oh yeah, Gloria. Like, why didn't I not think of this before? So I call Gloria. I'm like, Mom, do you have Gloria's number still? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, so I call Gloria and she doesn't answer. I leave a message. And then it's like, I don't hear back for a few days or whatever. And again, I'm in this like turmoil of what's going to happen. Baby's coming. And I remember I was on the beach, with my daughter and I just was like trying to keep it together, for her sake and everybody else's. And I like, I was like praying to whoever would listen. I was like, listen, I need assistance with this. And my phone rang.
Oh,
yeah. And it was Glo. And she was like, hey, Mitzi, it's Glo. And I'm like, hi. She's like, it's so wonderful to hear from you. Like, I haven't heard from you in so long. And she's like, okay, so tell me, I need to know, like, tell me all the details of the first birth. And so I did. I went into every single, revolting detail of the first time and cried the whole way through it. And, told her everything. She was like, okay, great. And so you want to have this baby at home naturally? And I said, yes. And she goes, great. Okay. I need to know 2 things. These are my 2 questions. What, first of all, did you dilate? How far did you dilate?
Right. And you got that in your corner.
Yeah. 9 centimeters. And yeah. And did you breastfeed?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
yeah. Same questions I ask.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I dilated to 9 centimeters and I breastfed. I'm still breastfeeding at the time I was still breastfeeding. And she was like, great, no problem. You'll have no problem. Mm-hmm. That's a no-brainer. You've already done it.
I do want to insert here for anyone listening. If you didn't dilate and you didn't breastfeed, that does not mean you will have a problem. Okay. So if you're hearing that and just got freaked out, it's okay. It doesn't mean that at all. It's, she was asking that and I asked that because that hormonal repair and that hormonal release and knowing, that your body got well into labor is just one piece of information, that it's not a crystal ball. It doesn't predict how a birth will go. So So don't feel like if you had a C-section and you didn't dilate or you didn't breastfeed that you're like totally doomed. We're not suggesting that at all.
No, absolutely not. And I know countless women who have had the opposite experience.
Yep.
And so but
and how pregnant are you at this point?
I'm like 5 months pregnant, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have some time still.
Yeah. There's still time. Yeah. And so, Gloria says, okay, so you're living on Savory. And she said, well, so do you want to have the baby there? And I said, well, because I'm VBAC, like I do. And that was always what I sort of thought I would do with my, like, I was born here. Like I thought I'd have my babies here. And she was like, okay, well, I can't come there. And so not that she wouldn't support me in having the baby there, but she said, I can't come. I have other mothers in Vancouver. It wouldn't be fair.
And what's the distance?
Oh, it's like, I mean, as far as driving, it's like 9 hours.
Oh, it's significant. Okay.
Yeah. So, it's like 2 ferries and then another boat and stuff. It's so she's like, I support you, but I can't come there. And so she gave me the name of another midwife that was close. And so I was speaking to her and she was closer and we were having this kind of thing. We were like, okay, well, this could work. And you could take the boat over when I go in labor. And it wasn't meshing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then finally I went, okay, again, compromise. My mom has a house in Vancouver. I'll see if she'll let me birth there, labor there. And then Gloria can be there.
Yeah.
And
this is a different type of compromise. This is like making it work.
Yeah. And so, and my husband was totally great with that.
Awesome.
And open to that. And, I said to him, like, this time around, I'm like, hey, so you're sure you're on board with this? Like, we're going to birth in a pool in my mom's bedroom in her house.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, great. And I'm like, because he goes, babe, I saw you take every possible thing that could have been done to you and take it on the chin in that hospital. He's like, I'm not worried about this at all. It's gonna be a breeze.
Yeah.
So, and so I started going for some checkups with Gloria. And the thing about, what the question she asked me and the response that she gave me was that Gloria always gives you that response.
Right.
No matter what it is.
Yeah. Right? I love that.
Because like just the total opposite from the prenatal stuff in the hospital to this woman, where it was like never, ever through 2 pregnancies now, has she ever given me anything to worry about. There was never like, oh, this, your urine is a bit, your blood pressure is a bit, nothing ever.
And even if there was something, we can trust that the way she would present it would be totally calm and respectful and loving, and a conversation, a curiosity. It's we were just talking about this on a different episode around, it's the difference of delivering information rooted in fear or love. And there's a real way to talk about pretty much anything in love.
Yes. And and that difference being that one is something wrong and one is something totally natural that's going on with your birth. This is how it's flowing. This is the direction it's taking. It's not wrong. It's totally natural. It just is. And so, and that she said to me, so you need to have this baby. You need to have this baby vaginally, because I don't want you coming back to me for number 3 after 2 C-sections.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not having 3 kids. What are you talking about? I was like, 3? She's crazy. But she was, again, right, very right. So we sat down together, and again, another one of her things is, tell me, like, let's visualize your perfect birth. Let's go through, like, walk me through your perfect birth. And so you just speak on it, and she writes it down. And that's like beautiful. That's in your notes,
Yeah.
like, okay, this is what she wants it to go like. And on the day,
can you imagine if doctors did that?
Yeah. Like, let's
actually can't imagine that.
No, let's visualize your perfect outcome, your perfect scenario. And so, we were at my mom's house, and my daughter is now like, 20, 23 months, and we're there, and I can feel it coming on. And so again, what happened the first time was that I kept going into hospital before I was truly ready. You know, like I should have waited and waited and waited and waited and waited until I was like in labor, you know? And so this time I was like, okay, I can feel it coming. I'm going to leave the bed. I'm going to go get quiet by myself. And so I went into the other room, into my mom's room, and she was gone. And so I got to have this bed to myself and stay dark and stay quiet, like a cat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they, they were coming on stronger and stronger. And I had a bathroom close. And then when my husband and daughter naturally woke up, he came in and he was like, oh, and I was like, yeah. And so he said, should I call Gloria again? I was like, I think maybe, because I'm not like this started around 4 a.m. and so it's been 3 hours. Just let her know. Yeah. So he called Glo at around 7. She was like, okay, great. I'll pack everything up and I'll head over in a bit. And so, yeah. And then, so she came over in a bit. I just stayed laboring in the bedroom. We had various different loved ones coming to mind my daughter. And so that Gareth could stay with me. And so we Glo got there. We blew up the pool in my mom's bedroom. So I was like bed right beside pool and then bathroom. So it was like, I had everything I needed right there. And as soon as the pool was ready, like I was so excited to get into it, because it's like, it's like a big bath, right? So you just get in this beautiful bath, and then that's kind of the trick, is that it can be so soothing and so comforting that it can also slow you down a little bit, right? You just get a little bit too comfortable. But I was okay as far as Glo was concerned. This time around, she was like, take as much time as you need, you know? You're going to birth exactly at the pace that you need to birth at.
Even being supported to take it slow completely, I mean, it's like you're healing one moment at a time, getting to experience what you didn't get in your first birth, right? To even just be told, take your time, babe, that like is so inherently healing.
Exactly. And the doctor I was talking about before, when I told her, like, I need my records, I'm going to actually have a home birth with Gloria Lemay, she called me at home and berated me and told me I was reckless and irresponsible, and wrote.
Did you pick up the phone?
Yeah. I had
So it was like a real live.
I had a live argument with her.
OMG, what did you say back to her?
I said, I understand that you feel that way. It's not going to change my opinion. This is my choice. I think you've forgotten whose birth it is, and we're going forward. Yeah, thanks for your opinion. And then she wrote on every single piece of my transcripts or whatever that she wrote, choosing to birth with Gloria Lemay. Like all this, like how she was so mad about it, like reckless. By not by my recommendation, like every single page.
Oh,
and then when she finally came around, well, she didn't come around, but on the phone, the last thing she said to me was, "Listen, you tore, because of, you have there's a real possibility of you tearing, because of it's been less than 2 years, all this nonsense."
You're like, wait, what? There's a risk?
There's a risk involved? Yeah. So she said, just at least do this for me. If you've been pushing for more, if you've been pushing for more than 2 hours, you need to go to hospital. And so right there again, she puts this like time frame on me.
Gross.
That it was like that. And I don't care how confident you are, that's going to be in the back of your mind. Somebody planted that fear seed. Okay. But so, yeah. And then Gloria did the opposite thing, where she was like, yeah, just take your time. You're birthing,
and you're going to be spontaneously pushing, which is completely different and has, yes, if you were on epi and pit and doing directed aggressive pushing, I could see where she was going with that fear mongering, because directed pushing on drugs is fucking dangerous.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's dangerous whether you're a VBAC or not, but a calm, loving, at-home, spontaneous pushing stage, Ugh.
It's a different scenario.
Keep going.
Yeah. And so
I
Glow
can't
would
believe
just
she called you.
like the worst. And then so Glow, it was July 23rd. And so my Glow was sat on my mom's front porch reading a book in the sun. And my husband and I were in my bedroom. She'd come in and chat, see how we're doing. She never ever what's the word, examinated me, never entered my body, which I can't even count how many doctors, midwives, etc. put their fingers inside me the first time. And never the whole time. She would closer to the end, she had a mirror that she would put into the pool and just see, okay, how are we doing? But mostly she just did it by the sound of my voice and the contractions. And
that is an authentic midwife right there.
Yeah. And so so then we birthed beautifully. It rolled on. My husband was in the pool with me as much as possible. She'd come in and say, you know what, let's get you out of the pool for a bit. So you're getting a bit too comfortable, walk around. Let's get some gravity happening. And then when we got closer to the end, she was like, maybe because we're getting closer, maybe sit on the toilet for a bit. Because then when you're on the toilet, all of your inhibitions are gone. You're okay with stuff coming out of your body, right? And so true enough, I went and sat on the toilet and like immediately crowned. Just like, and then I'm now on the toilet with the crown, and I had to walk back it was only like 12 feet, but it felt like I had a massive bowling ball between my legs.
You did.
Yeah, I was like, how do I get back to the pool? My God. And so, waddled back to the pool and then got in. Oh, and sorry, I meant to say that. So I did push for about 4 hours. And like I said, no doctor would have let me do that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and so we're pushing and yeah, baby's coming. And so I'm at the pool, but like leaning over it with my front body. So baby's like coming backward, from the back kind of thing. And her head came out, and then that was kind of it. And so Gloria, who'd given me had been coming and giving me sips of water and stuff, brought me some water. And then she got me some cranberry juice, and she was like, okay, so here's a bit of sugar. It's going to give you like a little boost of like energy that you haven't had, haven't really been having. And so I want you to take a big haul on this. And then for this next contraction, I want you to push like you have, like your life depends on it.
Yeah,
this
like
is the one.
It's time to get your baby out.
This is the one. Let's get this baby out. And so then, the contraction came and I was like, okay, like, everything I got. And then out she came. Out she poured the rest of her.
And how beautiful that was the way she supported your daughter or your son. It was a son, right?
It was a daughter. This time
your daughter's emergence, instead of what almost all other midwives that I know of do is they would have had you lean back, get their hands in you, pull the baby, they would have gotten overly involved.
Yeah. Cause what we're talking about is that her shoulders were keeping her back. Right. And so Gloria and everybody else I've talked to exactly that. It's like, oh, their shoulders are stuck. And Gloria,
they weren't stuck. Actually,
weren't stuck. They were just holding her back a bit. So let's dig deep. And
you did it.
Yeah.
And then you get to emerge from this beautiful story, really with the deep, deep, deep knowing that you birthed your daughter, right? Because this happens all the time with VBAC stories, that not only is it so important, so deeply important for a woman who's had a C-section to know that she could do it, but also then midwives that support VBACs take away that moment by, it's too far to say doing it for them, but by pulling the baby out.
Yeah.
And I've talked to tons of women who find that understandably quite traumatizing.
And again, she didn't touch me or the baby at that. Like she hasn't touched either of us.
That warms my heart.
My husband's in the pool. He's catching my daughter. And, and she said, cause like, just to go to that point, she said afterwards, we were like, Gloria, thank you so much. Like we couldn't have done it without you. And she went, well, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
She goes, I was just the feather in Dumbo's cap.
I was what? The feather in Dumbo's cap?
Yeah. She's like, you thought you needed me, but you didn't. Right. You could do it by yourself. I was just there for the confidence,
I love this story. It's everything. It's everything that she had the opportunity to take that away from you, and she didn't.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that is, God, that's just freaking everything.
Well, and also that's what set me up to free birth the third time.
Exactly.
She was like, I didn't do anything.
Mm.
You know, you did it all. You and your husband did it all. So
Yeah, she just
this
loved you.
yeah, she was like, so next time you're just doing it again, you know.
Yeah,
Um so
beautiful.
yeah,
Oh, I bet you cried so hard.
oh God, the euphoria of that,
Yeah.
like, and like you said, the healing that took
Yeah.
place from the first trauma was
Mm.
like so much that I thought I had lost, or that I thought I
Mhm.
couldn't do, so much about my womanhood, my power.
You like came
Um,
back to yourself.
yeah,
It's
and I
beautiful.
had this beautiful 9 pound 14 ounce baby. So like, again, it's not like it was, oh, she's, it's this is, or that, all that stuff, because I'm 5 foot nothing, and so that was always a thing for my doctors. Oh, you're so
Mm.
big, you're really birthing big, and it was like, oh, this baby's too
Oh,
big for your small little body. So yeah, we
beautiful.
and we it was just
Hmm.
it was beautiful. And so then oh, and so then we sat outside afterwards. She'd come for checkups and things, and we sat outside afterwards, and she was like, so do you want me to read you back the visual you had for this birth?
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. And she read it to me and my husband, and it was exactly
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
like, it was exact. It was like, she was
Oh,
like, she looked at Gareth and went, pretty good powers of manifestation your
yeah.
wife
Oh,
has here.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
And what I
yeah.
love about your story is that it wasn't just random luck, like
No.
you created this and you had nobody to sabotage you. So of
Mhm.
course you got the birth you wanted. Most women do, and that's not to take away from the rare complications and the rare times, that change, that plans need to change, of course, and that's very sad, but but sometimes it just needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
But the vast majority of women that I hear who have the proper support and the right clarity and intentions, they absolutely manifest the birth that they need and want.
Absolutely. And to that point, I should say that the first time around, my mother was there. God love her. She, like I said, she birthed both her babies at home. She had these experiences, but it's a different thing when it's your daughter. And she wasn't particularly helpful the first time.
Mm.
So the second time, even though I was in her home, I was like, I can't have you here. I'm sorry. And she knew too. She's like, yeah, I shouldn't be here.
What a gift.
Yeah, and so like you said, knowing what that support is that you need,
Yeah.
knowing yourself enough to know, like, yes, I can have you in my space. No, I can't have
Mhm.
you in my space. Yeah,
Oh,
and so
amazing. What a good
yeah,
story. Okay, so we are not done.
we're not done. So then, yeah, so then my second daughter is about a year and a half at this stage, and I find out, I'm too much to my surprise,
Oh my gosh.
that I'm pregnant again. And
Wow.
so far we have two girls, um we haven't been able to birth on Savory, and
Mhm.
and so we have this third one coming, and we're like, wow, really, can we do this? Like, two's a lot. Really, three? And I know in the back of our minds, we were like, well, this could be our boy, and this could be our Savory birth, and
Mm.
this is our family. This is, it's what's going to complete
It's
us. So
happening now.
it's happening
Yeah.
now. So yeah, so I called Glow, and again just said, like, hey, this is happening. And she said, great. She said, so you're gonna have this one on Savory? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, great.
She's like, "Great, send me a birth announcement."
She's like, let me know. Send me a photo.
Yeah.
And before this, I should say, because I was so empowered by my birth with Gloria, and because I work a little bit in the film industry, I really, really wanted to make a documentary about her.
Aw.
And so I've started down that road with my friend who's a cinematographer, and we started interviewing Gloria and interviewing me. And we'd started this whole process before we knew I was pregnant. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, well, now we can document the whole journey of this pregnancy. So I would go down to visit Gloria and for my checkups, and we would film them, everyone. And so that was really nice that we got to like sort of this like progression of this birth. One of the moments was when I went into her for my ultrasound. So this time, like, not only am I having like am I planning a free labor on a remote island, but I don't have a doctor. I have not even told the doctor that I'm pregnant this time.
Right.
I'm totally free birthing it. So no ultrasounds, no nothing. I know I'm seeing midwives. That's it. And because Gloria's in Vancouver and I'm on Savory, I'm also seeing the midwives that are in this town that we live in now,
Okay.
Powell River. And so I see them for occasional checkups. I go down to see her. We film them. I go to see Gloria for my ultrasound, she has this beautiful like book that's all different drawn pictures of what size your baby will be at like what week or like what's happened, what's growing. And so I think I was like, 26 weeks or something. And so we just took a picture of this picture in front of the baby. So I have that as
That's cute.
my only ultrasound from that.
Yeah.
And we started setting up to do this thing, have a free birth on a remote island with a first responder system, but you're still an hour and a half away from the hospital. And so it was really interesting because it's a small island, it's a small community, and because, like I said, I was born there, most people know me, and it's really interesting to see these people like in their feedback, welcomed or not.
And their fear back.
Their fear back. Exactly. Yeah. And I had even like a really close girlfriend, like, again, call me and be like, I don't think that you realize like what pressure you're putting on the island. And I was like,
What?
What are you talking about?
A weird way to say that.
Like, you need to tell people, like, you need to like get people like prepared for if something goes wrong. And I was like, I'm not planning this birth for if something goes wrong. I'm planning this birth for something going right. Like,
also, it's none of anyone else's business.
Exactly. Like, you want me to call these people and be like, just in case. Like, what kind of confidence is that showing me? So anyway, we like, my husband is a first responder. So we put everybody's mind at ease as much as we could with like, oh yeah, we have all the emergency systems in place. Like, but you know what?
Oh my God.
Like we did it once before. So we're confident. And in this community, so Gloria is at home. But so in this community, there's something called the birthing kit. And because there's inland and around, there's a lot of like-minded home birthers, strong French community. And they're doing it. They're doing the same thing. They're just birthing at home. And they have a birth kit. And so inside is a pool, is like a bunch of different books and that like natural scale weighing thing and just everything you could need for a home birth. And so we got the kit and we had that set up and ready. And it was just going to be me and Gareth. And my mom was coming up to take the kids, to take my two daughters for when it like really what started. And then the man who's doing the cinematography for the documentary was like, okay, well, I'll try to come up that weekend. Like my due date was November, whatever. And he's like, I'll try to come up that weekend, but it's my wedding anniversary. And we'll see, kind of thing. And I was like, I totally understand. It's a long shot. Like, who knows if I'll even have it that weekend. So I get it. And anyway, he was like, okay, yeah, I can come up. I'm coming up. I'll be up from like Friday to Sunday. I'm like, okay, great. Friday was my due date. Nothing. Saturday, nothing. Sunday morning, I go into labor. And again, I'm like, I take myself downstairs in the basement in like a separate bedroom, just me, and I'm waiting for it. And then I was like, okay, yeah, this is happening. I'm gonna get in the bath. I run a bath, and I have a pretty big bath, and I'm thinking I'm comfortable. It's happening, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just birth right here. And again, Gareth gets up and he's like, oh, okay, it's happening. And I was like, yeah, it's happening. Can you call Phil, who's the cinematographer, and And he's like, okay, I'll call him. So I called him, he said, it's happening. Like, I know you're leaving today, but it's happening now. This is like 7:30 in the morning or something. And he's like, okay, I'll come, I'll set up, I'll come. Whatever, I'll come and see what I can get. And so he comes at like, it gets around 9 and I'm just happily birthing in the bath and my daughters are still there. And,
how random was this guy Phil to you? Like, were you super tight with him?
Oh yeah. I've known him since I was like 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really close friend. Yeah. And sorry, I should add. Okay, so Phil's relationship to Gloria, and one of the reasons he was interested in doing the cinematography for the documentary is that his son was born with Gloria as well.
Aw, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and
it wasn't just some random guy you hired.
No, it's just like, hey, cameraman, come on in.
A guy named Phil just shows up at your birth.
No, known him forever.
So he comes over and
he comes over and I'm birthing happily in the bath and he's just setting up and we're just birthing and my husband's doing, everything under the sun that he can and he's running back and forth to do things. And I'm feeling a lot of pain in the front. So I'm getting my sensations like where you would get cramps. And I didn't have that either time with my girls. I had it in my lower back. And of course I'm on island and by myself. I don't have, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's where I would tear. Like that's where the tear would be. Like, I'm letting myself go, oh no, like freak out. And so I'm like, Gareth, can you just call Glo? And so he calls Gloria and she goes, hello, do we have a baby? And Gareth was like, well, not yet, but we're on our way. She's in labor. She goes, okay, great. How's everything going? He's like, yeah, it's going great. And she's like, okay, well, just let me know when you have a baby. And he's like, well, she wants to ask, she's having these sensations in the front. And Gloria's like, Mitzi, she goes, it just means your baby's anterior, not posterior. Right. That's all that's happening there. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Okay, thank you. She's like, okay, bye. Talk to you soon. And, yeah, also I should say, this is going back as well, that the midwives I was seeing in town, one of them very close to the end, after my baby had already been engaged, did a checkup on me and said, I think you're transverse. Mm-hmm. And this is at like 38 weeks. And I was like, what? She goes, and did the same thing where she looked at me and went, if you're transverse and your waters break, you have to go immediately to the hospital. And I was like, okay, great. This whole time I've had nothing to worry about. I'm just coming to you for due diligence, really. Like, I don't even know why. And now you're telling me this. And so I call Gloria, of course, right away. I'm crying. I'm like, Glo, I just saw the midwife in town. She thinks the baby might be transverse. She says, oh, Mitzi. Like, yeah. She's like, your baby is not transverse. This is just over the phone. And I'm like, she's like, okay, I'm going to tell you why. She's like, that baby's head was engaged. And imagine it has like a watermelon full of water on top of it. It has to be able to do a headstand out of your pelvis. And like, they didn't do that. I was like, oh, yeah. And so then whatever. But then, so for the rest of the time, I'm still like having Gareth check. Does it feel like it's like, can you feel the head? Can you feel the head? Does it feel like it's down? Is it engaged? So anyway, but on the day, I didn't have any concerns of that at all. I felt like everything was totally normal and moving forward. And so I got to, I guess, what was transition. And in this time, Gloria had said in the visualization of this birth, she said, you had your perfect birth last time. What do you want differently this time? I said, I just want it to be faster. Because with Una, it was 18 hours. And that's totally happy. But I was like, 13, number 3, I just wanted to be faster. And so I'd got to the point where I started being like, this is not going faster. And getting all, mad and going, this bathtub isn't big enough, blow up the pool. You have to blow up the pool now. This thing is taking too long. And then got in the pool and realized, oh, I'm in transition. Yeah. That's why I'm so pissed right now. I'm in transition. And so it was 50 minutes later. They had him in the pool. Oh. Yeah. Once. Yeah. And
so how many hours was that one?
Just under 5.
Whoa,
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So and with my friend filming, and I never knew where he was. He's so good. He just was like
Nice.
there. And when 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 he was born, oh no, he had to go. He had to leave the island. And he was like, guys, I gotta go. And as he
When?
said that, so just as I got in the pool, he
Oh,
was like,
shit.
yeah, and he was like, I
You're
gotta
like, "Give
go.
me 15."
I'm like, yeah. And so, but I didn't know. I didn't like. I just was like, I'm
Right.
in transition. I don't know what's happening. This is the worst. And then he's like, I gotta go. He's telling, and then I put my hand down and went, oh my god, I can feel the head. I can feel the head. And then he's like, okay, I'll set back up. He's like, came back up, and he's like, I guess I'm missing my boat. Like the
Yeah.
head, this is happening.
Yeah.
So,
Who
and he's
leaves at birth at crowning? No one
yeah,
does.
man, you can't go now. There's about to be a baby. And so yeah, same thing. And so I birthed the same way, like with my body like leaning over the bath, like my body resting on the front on the bath, and then or the pool, and then baby coming from behind. So I don't see baby first. Both times my husband has seen Gareth's seen the baby before me, and the first time with Yuna, he kind of went like, huh, like it's another girl, like, huh,
Oh,
he tried, like, he's tried to, like, but we make these natural things come out of us, right?
yeah.
And this time he grabbed, he well, the head was coming. And I was like, okay, what's out? What's out? Is his head out? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Another concussion. I'm pushing. I'm like, what else is out? Like, are his shoulders out? Are his shoulders out? And Gareth's like, yeah, his shoulders out. And I was like, well, then pull the rest of him out. Like, what are we? Because he was just waiting for me to do the whole
Of
thing, right? And I
course.
was
Yeah.
like, if his shoulders are out, pull him. Like, I don't need to do any more work. And then when he did, he brought him into his arms, and I could hear him go, like,
Oh.
this like whelp of joy,
Oh.
the yelp of joy that was like, it's a boy. And I just knew. And from when I was saying those things, I was saying, is his head,
Right.
are his shoulders. I just instinctually knew. And then when he made that noise, I knew.
Hmm.
But what Gareth was doing, and why he was so like, not not quick with answering my questions about him, what parts of him was out, is because the cord was around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And so Gareth was like trying again not to like freak me out, and just trying to loosen it while he was catching everything else. And so then when he came out, he was a little bit sort of, dazed, a little bit out of it. And he wasn't like crying, screaming like my experience with the other two. He was like not really coming to. And he was a little bit purpley blue, and we were like, okay, we're by ourselves again. And so he wasn't really coming to. He's really sort of like, ooh. And so eventually I went, Gareth, call Glow. I'm not comfortable with this. I think it was about 4 minutes. I was like, call her. And so we called her, and we're like, and Gareth's like, so yeah, he hasn't cried yet. He's just kind of like, he seems a bit sort of. And she goes, well, is the cord still intact? And we were like, oh yeah. She goes, well, then he's still getting oxygen, so
Right.
everything's fine. Like,
And a blue baby is an oxygenated baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like all these. I just think it's all these fears. You're by
Of
yourself,
course.
and all, and in that moment, everything that every neighbor said that was like, you horrible people, was like,
Oh
oh
my
my god. And yeah, no. And so then she goes, well, he's getting everything he needs. But what I want you to do is just lay him tummy down to Gareth. Lay him tummy down with his like head at your palm, and just whack him on the back a little bit harder than you think you should. And so he did that, and then yeah, and just went, "Wah!"
Yeah. He was like, God damn it.
I was totally fine. Leave me
Yeah.
alone already.
He was like, I was born peaceful. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, and then you know, um, all the natural stuff after that of birthing placenta, and all the cutting the cords and everything. And but then we were home, and we were on Savory, and it was like, in that moment we, of course, above and beyond anything else, we had a beautiful baby, but we also, we got our boy, and I got to birth on Savory, something that was a a childhood dream, and that
So cool.
that I'd always like just taken for granted that would just be easy, that would
Right, a
just
long road to get back to that.
the community then responds with love and food, for the most part. I mean, there are people that still don't. I mean, I I saw the doctor weeks after I'd birthed Yuna, my second baby.
Oh, she lives on Savory?
She lives in Powell River, but she went to Savory
Okay.
for her summer holiday, and I saw her there. And I was carrying this like beautiful, strong, healthy baby, and I was already walking around, and that's the other thing I should say is post Una, because we moved so quickly, because after having a C-section the first time and then having a natural home birth, you feel like superwoman. I mean, you're like, I did it, like I can do anything. And so we moved really quickly. And when we got back to Savory from Vancouver, a friend of mine came over, another mother, and she saw me breastfeeding, and she was like, I think you might have mastitis. Like,
Oh.
yeah. And I was like, oh no. Um, and it was summer, and it was hot, and I'd been
Yeah.
fevery, and I didn't know anything about it. And so
Mm.
again, I called Gloria, and because the woman that said to me, she's like, yeah, I had to get antibiotics for that. It's an infection.
Mhm.
Everyone you talk to, oh, you have to get antibiotics for that's an infection. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I called Gloria and said, this looks like what has happened. And she said, Mitzi, I told you did too much,
Yeah.
too fast. You need to get in bed
Yeah.
with that baby. You need to let her drain whatever side, but don't ignore the other one. You need to skin to skin, and you need to stay there for as many days until it goes. You can't do anything. So, you got to enlist help for your other daughter, and you've got to, Garrett's got to be home. And then, and it's just, I tell that to every single mother I know now that's like, this is happening and this happened. I'm like, go to bed. Like, you're up too fast. And yeah, that's all. We went to bed for 2 days, and it cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that was required. We didn't have to go to the hospital, have to take antibiotics. We
Right.
just had to go to bed.
It's your body speaking to you, to say, slow down, get more support, reset. But in like we talked about earlier, like in this society that's all about the quick fix and the quick everything. It's like, oh, or you could just take antibiotics and keep going, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, keep
Like,
going.
no.
Yeah, and not make it worse. Not that fear of making it worse. This will fix it. Your other thing might not fix it.
Yeah.
But it did. And
Wow. Go
yeah,
Gloria.
yeah.
Wish every woman had a wise woman like that in her life. That's so, so helpful. She's such a good example of somebody who is an authority in birth, but not an authority over anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and that's the wise woman way. Like, we're not meant to do this shit alone. Like, of course you didn't know certain things. How could you? Right? But then
Mm-hmm.
here's this other woman that loves you, who does know quite a bit, obviously, who
Mm-hmm.
could relay that information to you in a confident, building, loving way, and not taking anything from you. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so profound, and also so deeply sad that she's such a rarity.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that she's been so scrutinized.
Yeah,
from the beginning.
vilified, criminalized,
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. But yeah. So no, I'm very grateful to her. And I should say that, like, Gareth, he was my doula, he was my midwife, he was blowing up pools and making tea, and
Well, and he
pushing
wasn't
on
your
the spot.
doula or your midwife. He was your
He's
partner.
my partner. Yeah,
He was your partner,
Yeah.
and he didn't need to be anything more than that, because he
Mm.
loved you, he supported you, he held space for you. That's who he was. He
Mm.
was your partner, right? And
Mhm.
that is so profoundly important, because lots of men and women, but lots of men witness their woman be abused in labor at the hospital, and then can't He's walking by right now on the screen, but no one else is going to be able to see that. A very quiet walk. Anyway, but lots of men see their woman be, abused and sabotaged in the system, but then are themselves so traumatized and confused by what happened that they can't get to the place where he did. Instead, they're like, no, you needed a C-section. Like, of course we're not going to go anywhere other than the place that can give you what you needed, the whole Stockholm syndrome thing. And so, yeah, I'm just very much appreciating that he had the willingness, regardless of whatever nervousness he may have had or anything, that he got it. He was just like, yeah, of course we're not going back, do your thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you're super badass and so inspiring. And I hope this story goes far and wide because women need to hear these stories. It's so normal and beautiful and powerful. And you made it happen.
Thank you. And I told this story I told this story to a woman I met in like a baby group. I'd never met her before, and she had just come out of a very traumatic birth, 4th-degree tears, and she wanted to have a big family, and she thought that was it. Like she was like, I don't know how to, I don't know how to do that again. So traumatized. And I told her my story, and I was like, no, you can do it. Like, this is what I did. This is like, you can do it. It's going to take time, but remember, it's your show. And then I didn't see her for like 2 years. And then the next time I saw her, she had a new baby. Yeah. And she went, oh my God, I thought you were an angel. I thought you were just like this made up thing that I like made up. And she's like, because of your story, I went against the advice of 4 obstetricians that told me they all told me to elect C-section.
Ew.
Because of your story, I went, no, I'm having a natural birth. And she did. A beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's another son now too, 3.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. This is important. And this is what we can be for each other. You're living the message and it's inspiring. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it.
That's it for today, everyone. Join us next week for another episode of the Free Birth Podcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, your body, your choice. Lots of love.